Production funding for Making It Up North is provided by the citizens of Minnesota through the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Keep your eye on that screen. This is gonna be great.
We proved we can make it happen here, so let's keep pushing it.
Hey, that was awesome.
Thank you.
You must be Galen Lee.
I am.
I love when you bring artists together. So whether that's musicians or street performers or painters or whatever that is, I love bringing those people together because there's a language there that they communicate in that is just different than everyone else.
And having an audience that's on your side makes all the difference.
Jimmy, may I present to you our best customer of all time, Mr. Will Knight.
It is the Wild West. You can put it out yourself. You can try to get it on Netflix. And then as far as the financing and the budgeting, you can do Kickstarters. So in that sense, it's like there's no better time to be doing it.
The fear of failing is a fear that should be shed as quickly as possible.
Philip, it's my dream.
I love the character design, idea creation, storyboarding, and the animatics, getting that timing down. I mean, I do love animation. That's where Wendy and I both started. We're working on a short film right now that's just the two of us, and it's taking in between client work. So it's taking us about a year just to get through the half of the animation.
$50,000 for a half an hour. I mean, that's, I don't really know what film production costs, but I imagine it's probably a little bit less than that.
A kid, an egg, a park, they do stuff, but there's more to it than it's kind of hard to explain. Sort of like with just butterflies. Kind of sort of just, it's kind of hard to explain. It's called Danger and Eggs.
With Danger and Eggs, we've proved that it can be done here. The crew that I brought together had never worked on an animated show before. They're comic artists. They had worked on some other advertising work, but there's enough talent. I brought them in. We trained them, trial by fire.
The 26 episodes of Danger and Eggs, they had a crew of 16 people here just doing storyboards, and it took them 9 months.
There was two of them, Drew and Sarah, who we promoted internally as directors. We all got Emmys for it, and it was their first job ever in animation. So that just gave me the confidence that this can happen for real.
Picture this. Dee Dee's and Philip's, because you're gonna help me make it, extreme obstacle run.
Shot in high definition.
Let's make it. First, we gotta clear Lady Bench.
On it. Ma'am, please remain calm. As today's park activity expert, I'm relocating you. I'm flying. I'm landing.
Okay,
Money is the key, because animation is all about time. It's a very labor-intensive craft. The favorite part for me is finding the nugget of the character, to where that character you start hearing its voice, and it starts writing itself when you put it into situations, and you know how it's going to react because it tells you. That's my favorite part. We took an idea, a simple idea, and kind of flipped it. What if we did this? And then all of a sudden the story kind of started unraveling for us.
I guess you'd call it kind of a satirical office comedy about being the only woman in a medieval workplace. And that's called Sir Evelyn.
Storytelling is always kind of personal, and being willing to open your heart up and let people see inside is kind of scary, but yeah, I hear Evelyn a lot in my head.
Having Wendy as a writing partner where we can just bounce stuff back and forth, throw things against the wall, see if they stick. And then the challenge after that, which is still the fun part, putting together the idea or the pitch or the concept into a digestible, clear format to sell, which is trickier than I thought it would be. Danger and Eggs took 6 years of failing before someone actually said, hey, what a great idea. But it's the only way you kind of know.
I've got this bighorn check!
How do you distill flourishing idea, a huge world that's in your head, to a very simple, clear, to someone who's hearing it for the first time? Stressful, yes. Hard work, yes. But the challenge is really great.
Keep your eye on that screen. This is gonna be great!
Personally, for me, being in a room and pitching is the hardest part. Because I tend to, I'm not an actor. Why did I say that so weird? No, I am not like an extrovert. So that part, telling my story in person, is harder for me than doing it on paper or on a screen.
I don't know any person who is the first time out, they did it, it was great. They never have to worry about it again. I mean, Danger and Eggs did really well, but I can't rest on that. I have to move on to the next thing as well. As soon as the shiny part's over, it's okay, great, what are you doing now? What's coming next? And you have to kind of live up to that as much as you can, and that could make the fear come back because like it took so long for one thing to succeed. Are you willing to put yourself out there again? Yeah, terrifying, scary, but why not do it? There's no reason.
Well, it's a way of life. Like if you go and work at 3M or something, you can expect a paycheck every week. But, you know, doing animation, it's not the same kind of pay structure, so it's not the same kind of employee that you're gonna have that's gonna be able to wait between shows.
I heard what you said. We do make a great team. I'm gonna slow down a little and I'll pay more attention. Yeah.
So having that critical mass of shows so crews can go from show to show to show, that once we get there, that'll be a tipping point for us.
Movie night! I'll make popcorn!
When I was 10 years old, I heard Bruce Springsteen singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and I knew what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
This is like one of my favorite scenes from the whole thing. Yeah. You know, anybody who's ever ridden a bus like that can identify with that. A guy getting off the bus with a guitar into a strange city. Right. What am I going to do? I'm going to go busk.
What's a busker, you ask? Stick around and find out. I'm Brian Layton. This is American Buskers. Keep on walking, dead line. Walk on, oh yeah.
I love when you bring artists together. So whether that's musicians or street performers or painters or whatever that is, I love bringing those people together because there's a language there that they communicate in that is just different than everyone else. And to be able to capture that language and sort of that passion and that magic that happens, that's what I love about American Buskers.
Yeah, right on, man. That was great. Thank you.
Here. American Buskers. A few years back, there's a band called GB Layton that's very popular here in Minnesota. We like to call him Minnesota's own Bruce Springsteen. He's got a concert up at a little bar up in Hermantown called the Beacon. And we're sitting around waiting for the concert to start, and out comes Brian Layton. And he goes from table to table to table to table. And what was amazing to me was that his interaction with the crowd prior to the concert actually starting wasn't about him. It was about the people that he was communicating with. He was remembering their names. And it really struck me as something quite remarkable. This guy has a beautiful connection with his audience. In conjunction with that, the travels that our crew takes all over the country and all parts of the world for production, and the travels that I've had myself, we've seen some wonderful musicians. And the idea kind of just popped. I said, what if we did a travel type show where we take somebody and insert them into these different cities and communities where these buskers are playing and seek out some of the best buskers in the world. Nick, one of our partners in Dogsnose Media, thought it was a great idea. And we thought, well, who could we get to host this? And the first person that popped to mind was Brian Layton. I was like, oh my gosh, that concert I went to, he would be perfect for this.
Brian is so easy to talk to and is just such a man of the people, which I know is kind of a cliche thing to say, but he is. He can just talk to anyone and make them feel comfortable. And I love capturing that magic that happens when he does that.
So then we started thinking about, well, who can he seek out in this town? And it was a little bit self-serving. We have a beautiful town, we have great buskers here. Why go shoot it in Memphis or Seattle when we can shoot a sizzle or a pilot reel right here? So I started thinking about it, and I was like, I remember hearing that Galen Lee started off her career busking. So we reached out to Galen, and Galen said, I'd love to be a part of this. From there, it just kind of mushroomed. We knew that Galen had done some recording at Sacred Heart Studio. We knew that the city has specific areas they like to put buskers down in Canal Park. You know, it's obviously a tourist area. So everything kind of fell into place. And when we work on these types of projects, you know, usually it's my responsibility to go out and try to secure those locations that we decide upon. And from that point, I let the professionals take over as far as the shooting and the creative eye that really puts a good polish onto it.
Some of that reverb, so a little more of a street sound, so it doesn't feel like it's so right on camera, right on mic. So if we kind of back that off a little bit, I think that would be good.
I think the content of what American Buskers is very entertaining, not only to us, but also people who kind of on the fringe like music. It's Americana, it's travel, it's people that you can identify with, that even though they're musicians, they're trying to earn a buck on the street.
How did you get going and starting in busking?
When I was 17, I met a magician named Reza out of Brookings, South Dakota, and he invited me to go on tour with him. I'm what you call a professional. I got my own sign and everything. Shoulder to shoulder, guys. I do magic to bring people together.
I think the biggest thing is working out the color. Like we want a little bit of that Instagram-y feel, so it feels contemporary. Okay. So I think there's also some transition points. Brian is on the street, and then as he makes his way around the city, it's more of that kind of blue, cooler tones.
I think we found our busker. Let's go check it out.
I think whenever we develop a project, it's again a cumulative effort of saying, hey, this is a good idea. It's not just one person's idea. It's more or less a group effort that says, hey, this is something, let's pursue it. Let's figure out how we can at least come up with a treatment or a sizzle reel or a pilot episode. So that's kind of what our process is.
Yes. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on American Buskers. That's all we got for you today. My name is Brian Layton. Galen Lee from Duluth, Minnesota. Thank you. We'll see you further on down the road, everybody. Ciao.
Butterhead. I wrote it as a short film. It is set at the Minnesota State Fair. It's a tale of inadequacy and revenge. The protagonist is a young woman who wants desperately to be Princess Kay of the Milky Way. She's not qualified. And that's it. Hilarity ensues. You know, I've written plays forever, but I've been a screenwriter for about 5 minutes, it seems like. So I'm not, this is unfamiliar territory to me. A couple of years ago, I took a screenwriting class at IFP Minnesota in St. Paul and learned a lot of things about how to format a script and how to present it. And that's where I started working on this script, actually, was down there.
I'm not gonna lie to you. This job can be tough. You got your gearbox, you got your diffusers, you got your directionals, all of which have to be kept in tip-top shape, especially the directionals. I cannot emphasize that enough.
When I was working on Old Lifty a number of years ago, my first drafts they're kind of hilarious because you can look at them and say, this person has no idea how to write for a visual medium. There's too much dialogue, there are too many details. Just like a videotape of a stage play is never going to be the same as being there live, because film and theater are different things. So I had to learn how to tell a story differently on a page. I had a lot to learn. And working on Old Lifty helped me do that.
Yes. I finally have an office with a view.
Now, if I can only
get over my fear of heights.
I'm used to doing theater. Even though theater costs money and is expensive to do, or can be expensive to do, you can usually figure out a way to do it and not lose money. But then it's gone, poof. It's ephemeral, and it seems to me that film is the opposite. You need money right away. You need resources, but then if you can achieve that, then you've got a finished product forever.
Thanks, Aerial Bridge.
You're welcome, Cap.
I'm Courtney.
I'm Will.
Will. Nice to meet you, Will. I actually heard something interesting about you.
Oh, what's that?
That you're not the groom.
No, just a groomsman.
I had this idea for the Groomsman, kicking around with my cousin and my mom for several years, like 4 or 5 years before they came up with the idea, because I was in this like streak of weddings, like really a ton of weddings, and then so we started a kind of a text message chain of like funny things that happen at weddings and like possible ideas for it.
I'm ready for a good time, and I came to groove. The whole band's here, and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose.
And it's a romantic comedy following this character, Will Knight. He's always been the perpetual groomsman. He desperately wants to get married. He thinks he's met the woman of his dreams. And we kind of pick up the story there as he's about to propose.
Courtney, you are the love of my life.
So just wrote like kind of the first 4 pages, and then sent it off to my cousin and mom, and they went to town and wrote like 15, 20 pages, and we just kind of started. And so basically we had the script done in 3 weeks, and then did a bunch of pre-production, and then started filming over the course of like 3 weekends in May, or no, maybe at the end of April. And we shot it all, and then did a Kickstarter, and so we were able to raise some money for some post-production help and some production help. Definitely was this Institute of Production and Recording connection, this film and music college that I had worked at. The students and teachers are super talented, and I had gotten to know a lot of them and worked on a lot of their projects, and had worked on some other shorter stuff that I made, and so I was able to hire a really talented recent graduate to do the cinematography, Christian Wilner, and then his friend and business partner was the assistant director for it, and the editor was an IPR student. There was students on set helping, like doing production assistant work. And so there was kind of the IPR connection, and then there was the Minneapolis St. Paul actor connection, and I've gotten to know the acting community through doing other projects here too. And there's so many amazing actors in town.
Chips. That's the test. If she doesn't like chips, serial killer.
I'll walk right out the door. If
Good.
she doesn't have chips, I'm gone.
And then there was my cousin and my mom who was producing and writing with, and they ended up being some like the best producers I've ever worked with. Like, we need a location, they will not mess around. We will get there, they'll help with schedule. So that was bringing all these worlds together was an interesting aspect of it. And we got some great locations. These tennis courts, which we actually didn't have to work too hard for, but we filmed at Hefe Restaurant, which is down in St. Anthony, Maine, and Tuck Shop at Calhoun Square, and a few other locations around town. Yeah, so we're sitting by a tennis court because, well, the main character in The Groomsman is like a former tennis teaching pro, and so there's a scene where he's playing tennis with his good buddy, and they're kind of not only reminiscing about old times, but also looking at the future. His friend's getting married. He's just the main character's just met at the tuck shop, maybe the woman of his dreams, he thinks, and so tennis is kind of the backdrop for that scene. So.
Did you get measured for your suit? Did you stop by the shop?
Yes, winning, it's not bad. Brad, yesterday, the tuxes are looking snazzy. Love the navy blue. So many people go with the black. I like navy blue.
Black the first time, navy blue the second. Hey. I wish you could be up there with me as my best man, right?
No, God. Donnie's your brother. I am not worried about it whatsoever. I'm happy to be a groomsman.
One of the fun parts about it was just, all the different people to collaborate with, and then through doing the Kickstarter, that community kind of grows, and people follow along.
Are you okay?
The biggest hurdle, well, I think there's a ton of hurdles, and the biggest one, I guess, is, you know, financing a lot of the time, scheduling, and, you know, and then intense competition. You know, everyone is, you know, has a camera and can make content. Getting it out there it's kind of like the Wild West now, where no one really knows what's happening. There's Netflixes you can do on demand. So it's like all these things that are the hurdles are also what makes it extremely exciting, because it's like, it is the Wild West. You can put it out yourself. You can try to get it on Netflix. And then as far as the financing and the budgeting, you can do Kickstarters.
Welcome to the family.
So in that sense, it's like there's no better time to be doing it.
Always the groomsman, not the groom. Not even the best man.
We're too old to move to LA and hustle with everybody else, but we kind of don't need to right now.
One of the fun parts about it was just all the different people to collaborate with.
It's just a success to see the fact that it's gotten to this point.